sixth grade, for your next project, you guys are going to be making window clings. So here I have two examples of them. And these can stick to windows. They can also stick to your lockers. But you just have to be really delicate. They're very delicate. You have to be very gentle with them when you're peeling them off of different surfaces. So to make these, we're going to be using a special type of paint that is specifically made for this. So we have them in these little bottles. So we'll get to the paint in just a second. When you are coming up with your design, you guys are going to be working this size, which is pretty small, and you're going to be creating your window cling on a piece of transparency that's that small. Now, the reason why we're doing this size is because you really need to make the paint pretty thick on here for it to be able to peel off of the transparency. Because even though this guy, I don't know how easy, it's really hard to tell in the video, he looks like super, super thin. When he was painted, when I made him on the transparency, the paint was incredibly thick. But when it dries, it gets really, really thin. And if it gets too thin, it ends up not being able to be peeled off of here, which then it would be stuck. Then it wouldn't become a window cling. It would just be like a cute, you know, thing of whatever it is you make. So you guys are each going to get a piece of transparency. And if you end up with a piece that has a white strip like this, you can just peel it off of there and throw that white strip away. And then you can create your own drawing if you want, but my tip is make it as simple as you possibly can, whatever it is, a shape or an object. So you can see here are my drawings for my little turtle, right? Super, super simple. And then for my star, okay? Or I also have for you guys handouts with a lot of different objects that you are welcome to just put your transparency over top of and trace those. So that's actually what I'm gonna do for this example video right here. I'm gonna take my transparency, I'm actually gonna work on this snowflake. So I'm going to set my transparency right over top of that and like line it up on there so I have a little border. And when we're working with the paint, everything that you guys do has to be outlined with the black. The black is the outliner paint. And so it's a little bit, it dries a little bit thicker than the other paints. The other colors dry even thinner than the black. So we have to have everything outlined by the black. So kind of plan for that in your design. So I'm doing this snowflake, so I'm gonna do the outside of it in black, and then inside of it I can do colors, right? So I think I'm gonna do an outline of black, and then the inside, like, you know, white and blue or some combination. Now, there are little lids on each of the bottles for this special paint. So this is special window cling paint. And these little caps are incredibly important. We don't want to lose them, and we have to make sure that when we're done, we put them back on. When we put them back on, you have to actually hear a click, okay? So like this, okay? So if it's not on there that tight, this whole bottle of paint could dry out and then be a complete waste. And I don't have a ton of this stuff, so we have to make sure that we're very careful with it. So I'm gonna take the lid off, and I'm just gonna set it like near the middle of the table so I don't accidentally knock it on the floor or anything. Okay, so then I'm gonna start tracing. So you always wanna start with your outliner first. So I'm gonna kind of shake it and get the paint right near the tip of the bottle. And again, it comes out kind of thick, so that's why you can't get really detailed. And so you just, if something happens, like you mess up, you just kind of have to go with it, okay? So you have to be very careful when you're doing this, because there aren't really do-overs with window cling paint, okay? So again, I'm gonna start with my outline. Right, so I'm all done with the black, so I'm gonna make sure that I put the cap back on and hear that click. And then I want you to see how thick I put that on, okay? Pretty thick. I know it's really hard to tell in the video, but I will come around and I'll be telling you, nope, put it on thicker, definitely thicker, for those of you that maybe I don't think it's going on thick enough, because Again, if you put it on too thin, you will never be able to peel it off of the transparency. Okay, so I'm gonna put it back on here, and now I'm gonna work on the inside with my blue and white. So now that I've finished my adding all of my paint, I'll give you guys a really good tip too. These colors, like the black goes on pretty thick and it kind of stays in place. The colors are like kind of runny, and so they come out of the bottle a little bit faster. So be careful when you're squeezing them out of the bottle that they don't just like fly out and go everywhere and ruin your design. And then now that I've finished this part, this is a total option. You know, if you want to just leave it like this, that would be really nice, right? Like I just filled in everything with my turtle and just left it like that. But on my flower, I used a toothpick and I created all those like weird textures. I finished with my toothpick and you can see how it changed my design a little bit. So now I'm very, very carefully going to walk this over to the drying rack and let it sit on there. And it has to sit for 24 plus hours to dry completely. And then we'll talk about peeling them off before they become window clings.